The small town of Pine Creek wasn't known for much. It sat nestled between rolling hills and a winding river, the kind of place where everyone knew each other and life moved at a gentle pace. This was home to Lily Chen, a 12-year-old girl with curious brown eyes and an ever-present sketchbook tucked under her arm. Lily wasn't like most kids her age. While others spent their time glued to screens or hanging out at the mall in the next town over, Lily preferred wandering through the woods behind her house. She'd spend hours sitting quietly, watching birds build their nests or deer grazing in small clearings, her sketchbook pages filled with drawings of everything that caught her eye, from the tiniest wildflowers to the majestic oak trees that had stood for hundreds of years. "Mom, can I please get a dog?" Lily asked one evening at dinner, not for the first time. "I promise I'll take care of it completely on my own." Her mother, Mrs. Chen, exchanged a look with her husband. They both worked long hours at the local hospital, she as a nurse and he as a maintenance supervisor. "Honey, we've talked about this," her father said gently. "Dogs need a lot of attention, and with our schedules, I can give it attention. I'll walk it before and after school, and I'll save my allowance for food and toys and everything," Lily pleaded, her eyes wide with hope. Her parents promised to think about it, which was better than their usual immediate no. What they didn't tell her was that they had already been discussing the possibility. They worried about how quiet Lily had become since starting middle school. She had always been a bit shy, but lately, she seemed to retreat further into herself, preferring her solitary nature walks to spending time with kids her age. 2 weeks later, Mrs. Chen picked Lily up from school with a surprise detour. "Where are we going?" Lily asked, noticing they weren't heading home. "I thought we might stop by the animal shelter," her mother said casually, trying to hide her smile as she watched Lily's face light up in the rearview mirror. The Pine Creek Animal Shelter was a small building on the edge of town, run by volunteers and constantly struggling for funding. Inside, the walls were lined with cages containing cats and dogs of all sizes, each one hoping to find a home. A middle-aged woman with kind eyes greeted them. "Welcome to Pine Creek Shelter. I'm Rita. Are you looking to adopt today?" "We're just looking," Mrs. Chen said quickly, not wanting to promise anything. Rita nodded understandingly. "Feel free to walk around. All our animals are friendly, but some may be shy at first." Lily moved slowly from cage to cage, taking time to read each animal's information card. Some dogs bounded up to the front of their enclosures, tails wagging hopefully. Others watched cautiously from the back. Cats lounged on perches, some interested in visitors, others pretending not to notice. At the very end of the row, in the last cage, Lily stopped. Inside was a medium-sized dog with golden brown fur, sitting perfectly still and looking directly at her. Unlike the other dogs, this one didn't bark or wag its tail. It just watched her with deep, intelligent eyes. "Who's this?" Lily asked Rita, who had been following at a distance. Rita came closer, checking the card. "This is Scout. He was found wandering along Highway 16 about a month ago. No collar, no microchip. We think he's about 2 years old, some kind of retriever mix. Why isn't he excited like the other dogs?" Lily asked, kneeling down to be at eye level with Scout. Rita's voice softened. "We don't know what happened to Scout before he came to us, but he was very thin and had some injuries that suggest he wasn't treated well. He's physically healthy now, but he's still cautious around people." Lily sat cross-legged on the floor in front of Scout's cage. "Can I sit with him for a while?" Rita glanced at Mrs. Chen, who nodded. "Let me get him out for you. We have a small meet-and-greet room where you can spend some time together." In the small room with bench seating along the walls, Rita brought Scout in and unclipped his leash. "Just let him come to you when he's ready. Don't try to grab or corner him." Scout stayed by the door after Rita left, watching Lily carefully. Lily didn't try to approach him. Instead, she took out her sketchbook and began drawing, occasionally glancing up at the dog. "You know," she said conversationally, "I come to the woods behind our house almost every day. There's a creek that runs through it, and sometimes deer come to drink there early in the morning. I bet you'd like it." Scout's ears perked up slightly at the sound of her voice. "I don't have many friends at school," Lily continued, shading in her drawing. "The other kids think I'm weird because I'd rather watch birds than play video games. But that's okay. Everyone likes different things, right?" After about 10 minutes, Scout took a tentative step forward, then another. Lily kept drawing, pretending not to notice but smiling to herself. Eventually, Scout was close enough that she could see him looking at her sketchbook. "Want to see?" she asked softly, turning the book so he could view her drawing. It was Scout himself sitting alertly by the door. "I'm not that good yet, but I practice a lot." To her surprise, Scout sniffed at the drawing, then sat down right next to her. Slowly, making sure not to startle him, Lily reached out her hand, palm up. Scout sniffed it cautiously, then, after what seemed like careful consideration, gave her fingers a tiny lick. When Mrs. Chen and Rita checked on them 15 minutes later, they found Lily reading aloud from a dog care pamphlet she'd picked up in the lobby, with Scout leaning against her side, his head resting on her knee. "I think he's chosen you," Rita said with a smile. The adoption process wasn't immediate. Lily's parents wanted to make sure this was a good match and that Lily understood the responsibility. They came back to visit Scout 3 more times that week. Each time, Scout seemed more relaxed, even wagging his tail when he saw Lily approaching his cage. On the 4th visit, Mr. Chen came along. He watched as Scout immediately went to Lily, now comfortable enough to roll over for belly rubs. "He's a different dog with her," Rita observed. "We've had volunteers working with him for weeks with much less progress. After filling out paperwork and buying basic supplies from the shelter's small store, Scout was officially theirs." The ride home was a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Would Scout adjust to their home? Would he get along with their elderly neighbor's cat? Had they made the right decision? They needn't have worried. Scout stepped cautiously into their house, sniffing everything with great interest. Lily showed him each room, talking to him the whole time about whose room was whose and where he would sleep. "This is your bed," she said, pointing to the plush dog bed they'd set up in the corner of her room. "But you can sleep on my bed too if you want." The first few days were an adjustment for everyone. Scout was startled by the sound of the dishwasher and barked at the mail carrier. He wouldn't eat unless Lily sat on the floor next to him. At night, despite the comfortable dog bed, he insisted on sleeping right next to Lily's bed where he could see her. But day by day, Scout began to trust his new family. He stopped flinching when someone raised their hand to pet him. He learned that the strange rumbling sound of the garbage truck meant it was Tuesday. He discovered the joy of playing fetch in the backyard, though he still wasn't quite sure about giving the ball back every time. Most importantly, he became Lily's shadow. Where she went, Scout followed. Each day after school, they would head to the woods together. Scout proved to be the perfect companion for Lily's nature explorations. He was quiet when needed, sitting patiently while she sketched or photographed wildlife. He seemed to understand the importance of moving slowly and staying downwind of the deer. And he always knew the way home, even when Lily got distracted and wandered farther than usual. "It's like he was made for her," Mrs. Chen remarked to her husband one evening, watching through the kitchen window as Lily and Scout examined something interesting in the garden. "Or she for him," Mr. Chen replied thoughtfully. "Have you noticed she's talking more? Even asked if she could invite that new girl from her art class over this weekend." It wasn't just at home that the change was noticeable. Lily's teachers commented on her increased participation in class. She joined the school's nature club, bringing Scout to their weekend outings when pets were allowed. The dog who had once been so fearful became a favorite among the other kids, performing tricks that Lily had patiently taught him. By the time summer arrived, it was hard to remember what life had been like before Scout. He accompanied the family on their annual camping trip, proving himself to be an excellent hiking companion who somehow managed to keep his golden brown coat clean, despite swimming in the lake every chance he got. "Do you think he's happy with us?" Lily asked her father one night as they sat by the campfire, Scout dozing at her feet after an exhausting day of exploration. Her father looked at the dog, now healthy and strong, his coat shiny in the firelight. "I think," he said carefully, "that Scout has the same look in his eyes when he watches you that you had when you first saw him at the shelter." Lily smiled and stroked Scout's soft ear. "What look is that?" "The look that says, 'I've been waiting for you my whole life.'" And as if he understood, Scout opened one eye, thumped his tail twice against the ground, and went back to dreaming whatever good dreams come to dogs who have finally found their way home. 2 years passed, and Lily and Scout became even more inseparable. Now 14, Lily had blossomed from a quiet, shy girl into a confident teenager with a small but loyal group of friends who shared her love of nature and art. Scout, now estimated to be about 4 years old, had grown into a handsome dog with a glossy coat and bright eyes that followed Lily's every move. Their morning routine rarely changed. Lily would wake up to find Scout already alert, sitting patiently beside her bed. They would head downstairs together, where Lily would pour Scout's breakfast while her mother made her own. Then came their morning walk, a quick loop around the neighborhood before Lily had to get ready for school. "I think Scout's limping a little," Mrs. Chen said one morning in early spring, watching through the window as they returned from their walk. "He's fine." "Mom," Lily said, hanging up Scout's leash. "He just stepped on something sharp yesterday when we were in the woods. I checked his paw, and there's no cut or anything stuck in it. But over the next few days, the limp didn't improve. In fact, it seemed to get worse. Scout, usually so eager to run and play, now moved more cautiously. He still followed Lily everywhere, but he'd rest more often, and sometimes he'd flinch when she patted his shoulder. "I think we should take him to the vet," Mr. Chen said firmly after watching Scout struggle to climb the 3 steps to the back porch. Better safe than sorry. Dr. Wilson had been the town's veterinarian for over 30 years. His small clinic smelled of antiseptic and dog treats, and the walls were covered with photos of pets he had treated over the decades. "So, what seems to be the problem with this fine fellow?" Dr. Wilson asked, running his hands gently over Scout's body, while the dog stood patiently on the examination table. Lily explained about the limp and how Scout seemed to be in pain sometimes. Dr. Wilson nodded, his face thoughtful as he felt Scout's joints and muscles. "I'd like to take some x-rays," he said after completing his examination, "just to rule out anything serious." An hour later, the Chen family sat in Dr. Wilson's office waiting for the results. Scout lay at Lily's feet, his head on her shoe. When Dr. Wilson came in, his usually cheerful face was serious. "I'm afraid I have some concerning news," he said, putting several x-rays up on a light box on the wall. "Scout has what looks like osteosarcoma, a type of bone cancer in his front left shoulder." The word cancer seemed to suck all the air out of the room. Lily felt her stomach drop and her throat tighten. Her mother reached over and took her hand. "Are you sure?" Mr. Chen asked, his voice low. Dr. Wilson pointed to a shadowy area on the x-ray. "This cloudy region here is what concerns me. We'd need to do a biopsy to be absolutely certain, but these signs are quite characteristic of osteosarcoma in dogs." "Can you fix it?" Lily asked, her voice small. Dr. Wilson sat down across from them, his kind eyes meeting Lily's. "There are treatments we can try. The most effective would be amputation of the affected leg, followed by chemotherapy. Dogs actually adapt remarkably well to having 3 legs, and it would remove the primary source of pain." "Cut off his leg?" Lily looked horrified. "It sounds scary," Dr. Wilson acknowledged, "but dogs don't have the same emotional attachment to their limbs that we do. They just want to be pain-free and mobile." The ride home was silent. Scout, unaware of his diagnosis, sat in the back seat with his head on Lily's lap, occasionally licking her hand as if trying to comfort her. Lily stroked his fur, trying to imagine him with only 3 legs, trying to picture him running through the woods again. That evening, after Lily had gone to bed, her parents sat at the kitchen table, speaking in hushed voices. "The surgery and treatments will be expensive," Mr. Chen said, looking at the information Dr. Wilson had given them. Mrs. Chen nodded. "I can pick up extra shifts at the hospital." "Me too. And I've been saving for a new car, but that can wait." Upstairs, Lily lay in bed with Scout beside her, her arm draped over his warm body. "I'm going to take care of you," she whispered into his soft fur. "Just like you've always taken care of me." The next few weeks were a whirlwind of appointments and decisions. The biopsy confirmed Dr. Wilson's suspicions. Osteosarcoma, an aggressive form of cancer. The good news, if it could be called that, was that the cancer hadn't yet spread to Scout's lungs or other organs, which meant treatment had a better chance of success. The day of Scout's surgery was the longest day of Lily's life. She insisted on going to the clinic with her parents to drop him off, fighting back tears as she hugged him goodbye. Scout, sensing her distress, licked her face and wagged his tail as the veterinary technician led him away. "He'll be okay," the technician assured her. "Dr. Wilson is the best." Still, Lily couldn't focus on anything that day. At school, her teachers were understanding, but the hours dragged by. As soon as the final bell rang, she rushed to her father's car, which was waiting for her. "Any news?" she asked immediately. "He's out of surgery," her father said with a small smile. "Dr. Wilson called about an hour ago. Everything went well, but Scout needs to stay at the clinic for a few days." 3 days later, they brought Scout home. He looked different, smaller somehow with his front left leg gone and a large shaved patch where the IV had been. But his eyes were bright, and when he saw Lily, his tail thumped against the car seat. Getting Scout out of the car was a challenge. He was still wobbly and uncertain on his 3 legs. Mr. Chen had to carry him into the house, setting him down gently on his bed in the living room. The hardest part will be keeping him calm while he heals, Dr. Wilson had warned them. No running or jumping for at least 2 weeks. For Lily, this meant spending most of her free time lying on the floor next to Scout, reading to him, or just keeping him company. Her friends from school visited, bringing treats for Scout and homework for Lily. "He looks good," her friend Tina said, scratching Scout behind the ears. "My cousin had a 3-legged cat, and after a while you hardly notice it's missing a leg." Lily nodded, watching as Scout accepted the attention with his usual gentle dignity. "Dr. Wilson says he needs to start chemotherapy next week. Will that make him sick?" Tina asked. "Maybe a little, but not like it does with people. Dr. Wilson says most dogs handle it pretty well." The chemotherapy treatments began the following week. Every other week, one of Lily's parents would take Scout to the clinic for his treatment. Some days afterward, he seemed tired and didn't want to eat much. Other days, he was almost his normal self, hobbling around the house and yard, gradually learning to balance on 3 legs. Lily kept a journal of Scout's progress, noting his good days and bad days, what he ate, how far he walked. She researched everything she could about canine cancer and recovery, printing out articles and discussing them with Dr. Wilson during Scout's appointments. "You know," Dr. Wilson told her during one visit, "you'd make an excellent veterinarian someday." Lily looked up from where she was sitting on the floor with Scout. "Really? You think so?" "Absolutely. You have a natural way with animals, and you're not afraid to learn the medical side of things." The idea took root in Lily's mind. She'd never really thought about what she wanted to do after high school, but being a veterinarian, helping animals like Scout, felt right. As spring turned to summer, Scout grew stronger. The incision where his leg had been removed healed completely, and his fur began to grow back over the scar. He learned to run again, with a slightly lopsided but effective gait that allowed him to keep up with Lily on their walks. The chemotherapy continued through the summer months. Each treatment was followed by blood tests to check Scout's health and x-rays to look for any signs that the cancer was spreading. So far, every scan had been clear. "He's responding very well," Dr. Wilson said during Scout's 4th month of treatment. "Better than I had hoped, to be honest." By the time school started again in the fall, Scout had completed his planned course of chemotherapy. He would still need regular checkups, but for now he was cancer-free. To celebrate, the Chen family took a weekend trip to a dog-friendly cabin by a lake. Scout, now confident on his 3 legs, splashed in the shallow water and explored the surrounding woods with Lily. That night, as they sat around a campfire, Lily looked at Scout, his fur glowing golden in the firelight, and felt a wave of gratitude so strong it brought tears to her eyes. "You okay, honey?" her mother asked, noticing Lily wiping her eyes. "Yeah," Lily said, smiling as Scout came to sit between her feet, leaning comfortably against her legs. "I was just thinking about how lucky we are." Her father nodded, understanding exactly what she meant. "We certainly are." Later, as Lily lay in her sleeping bag with Scout curled up next to her, she whispered into his fur, "You're the bravest dog in the whole world, you know that?" Scout sighed contentedly and pressed closer to her side, as if to say that being brave was easy when you had someone you loved beside you. For nearly a year, life returned to a beautiful normal for Lily and Scout. The 3-legged dog became a familiar sight around Pine Creek, trotting alongside Lily on their daily adventures. People who had known Scout before his surgery often remarked on how well he had adapted, how he didn't seem bothered at all by the missing limb. "Dogs live in the moment," Dr. Wilson explained when Lily mentioned this during one of Scout's checkups. "They don't worry about what they've lost or what might happen tomorrow. They just enjoy what they have right now." Lily thought about this often. At 15, she found herself increasingly caught up in typical teenage worries: grades, friendships, the future. But Scout's simple joy in each day's small pleasures, a good scratch behind the ears, the discovery of an interesting scent in the woods, the perfect sunny spot for an afternoon nap, reminded her to appreciate the present. Winter melted into spring, and Lily threw herself into preparing for her school's science fair. Her project, inspired by Scout, explored how animals adapt to physical limitations. She interviewed pet owners with three-legged dogs and cats, studied wildlife videos of animals that had survived injuries, and even visited a nearby wildlife rehabilitation center where they cared for injured birds and small mammals. "Your project is really coming together," her science teacher, Ms. Rivera, told her after reviewing her progress. "Have you thought about asking Dr. Wilson if you could volunteer at his clinic? It would give you even more material for your research." The idea thrilled Lily. That very afternoon, she stopped by the veterinary clinic with Scout for their regular walk home. "I'd love to have you volunteer here," Dr. Wilson said when she asked. "How about Saturday mornings? You can help with the boarding animals and observe some of the basic procedures." For the next few months, Lily spent every Saturday morning at the clinic. She started with simple tasks like cleaning cages and feeding the boarded animals. But soon Dr. Wilson was teaching her how to hold animals for examinations, prepare medication, and even assist with minor treatments. Scout came with her, making himself at home in the clinic's reception area, where he quickly became a favorite with nervous pets and their owners. "He's a natural therapy dog," Dr. Wilson observed one day, watching as Scout gently nuzzled a frightened kitten that had been brought in for vaccines. "Some animals just have that special ability to comfort others." The science fair came and went. Lily won second place, but she continued volunteering at the clinic. Working with animals felt right in a way nothing else ever had. She started seriously considering veterinary medicine as a career, peppering Dr. Wilson with questions about colleges and requirements. "You've got plenty of time to figure it all out," he assured her. "But I think you'd make an excellent vet." Life was good. Scout's quarterly checkups showed no signs of cancer returning. Lily's grades were excellent. Her future seemed bright. And her once small circle of friends had expanded to include several kids from the science club and her volunteer work. Then, one ordinary Tuesday in early fall, everything changed. Lily woke up with a headache. This wasn't unusual. She occasionally got migraines that would keep her home from school for a day. But this headache felt different, duller, more persistent, accompanied by a strange sense of being off balance. "Maybe you should stay home today," her mother suggested, noticing how Lily kept squinting against the kitchen light. "I can't," Lily said, reaching down to pat Scout, who was watching her with unusual intensity. "We have a biology test." By lunchtime, the headache had worsened to the point where Lily could barely keep her eyes open. She was sitting alone at a cafeteria table, her untouched lunch in front of her, when her vision suddenly blurred and the room seemed to tilt sideways. The next thing she knew, she was lying on the cold tile floor with concerned faces peering down at her. "Don't try to move," the school nurse was saying. "An ambulance is on its way." The next few hours passed in a blur of bright lights, concerned voices, and medical terms Lily didn't understand. CT scan, MRI, neurosurgeon. Through it all, her parents' faces remained calm for her sake, but their eyes betrayed their fear. Finally, late that evening, a doctor with kind eyes and gray-streaked hair came to speak with them in a small consultation room at the hospital. "We've found the cause of Lily's symptoms," he said gently. "There's a tumor in her brain." The word tumor hit Lily like a physical blow. Her mother gasped softly beside her, reaching for her husband's hand. "Is it?" Mr. Chen couldn't seem to finish the question. "We won't know if it's malignant until we do a biopsy," the doctor explained. "But regardless of whether it's cancerous or not, its location is causing pressure on certain areas of the brain, which explains the headaches, dizziness, and fainting spell." "So what happens now?" Lily asked, surprised by how steady her voice sounded when everything inside her felt like it was crumbling. "We need to schedule surgery as soon as possible to remove as much of the tumor as we can and get a sample for pathology." The following days were a whirlwind of additional tests, consultations, and preparations. Lily was admitted to the hospital, where doctors monitored her symptoms and administered medication to reduce the swelling in her brain. Her parents took turns staying with her, one of them always by her bedside. "What about Scout?" Lily asked on her second night in the hospital. "Who's taking care of him?" "Don't worry about Scout," her father assured her. "Tina's family is looking after him. They bring him to our house during the day so he feels at home and he stays with them at night." But Lily did worry. She missed Scout's warm presence, his calming effect when she felt scared. "Can he visit?" "Are dogs allowed in hospitals?" Her mother shook her head sadly. I'm afraid not, honey. But I promise, as soon as you're home, Scout will be right there waiting for you. The day before her scheduled surgery, Lily received a surprise. Her mother walked into the hospital room with a tablet in hand. "Someone wants to say hello," she said, turning the screen toward Lily. There was Scout, sitting in their living room with Tina beside him. When he heard Lily's voice through the tablet speaker, his ears perked up and he moved closer to the screen, his tail wagging furiously. "Hi, buddy," Lily said, tears springing to her eyes. "I miss you so much." Scout whined and pawed at the tablet, clearly confused about where Lily's voice was coming from but desperate to reach her. "He's been waiting by the door every day," Tina told her. "I think he knows something's wrong." "I'll be home soon," Lily promised Scout, who had settled down with his nose practically touching the screen. "You be good until then, okay?" The video call lasted only a few minutes, but it lifted Lily's spirits immeasurably. That night, as the nurses came in for their final checks before lights out, Lily felt a new determination. Scout had fought cancer and won. She would do the same. The morning of the surgery, Lily was calm as the nurses prepared her, answering their questions clearly, and even managing a small joke with the anesthesiologist. Her parents walked alongside as they wheeled her bed toward the operating room, their faces brave for her sake. "I love you," she told them as they reached the doors where they would have to wait. "Don't worry. I'll be fine. We love you too," her mother said, leaning down to kiss her forehead. "We'll be right here when you wake up." The surgery lasted over 8 hours. Lily's parents sat in the waiting room, occasionally joined by friends or colleagues who brought coffee and quiet support. Back at home, Scout refused to leave his spot by the front door, ignoring Tina's attempts to engage him in a game or walk. Finally, the neurosurgeon appeared in the waiting room, still wearing his surgical cap. "She did very well," he told Lily's parents. "We were able to remove about 90% of the tumor. She's in recovery now and you can see her soon." When Lily finally opened her eyes in the recovery room, her head wrapped in bandages and her throat sore from the breathing tube, her parents' relieved faces were the first thing she saw. "Did they get it all?" she asked, her voice a raspy whisper. Her father held her hand gently. "They got most of it. We'll know more when the pathology results come back in a few days." Lily nodded slightly, careful not to move her throbbing head too much. "I want to go home," she said. "I want to see Scout." "Soon," her mother promised, stroking her arm where it lay outside the blanket. "You need to stay here for a little while so the doctors can make sure you're healing properly." 5 days later, the pathology results came back. Lily's parents sat with her in her hospital room as her doctor explained what they had found. "The tumor is a type called medulloblastoma," he said. "It's malignant, but the good news is that this type responds well to treatment, especially in young patients." "Treatment?" Lily asked, though she already knew what that meant. "Yes. We'll need to start you on a course of radiation therapy, followed by chemotherapy, to make sure we eliminate any cancer cells that might be left after the surgery." Lily thought of Scout, how brave he had been through his treatments, how he had emerged on the other side still himself, still full of love and joy. "I can do that," she said quietly. The doctor smiled at her. "I believe you can. And there's more good news. You should be able to go home tomorrow, as long as you promise to take it very easy and come back for regular checkups." That night, Lily lay in her hospital bed thinking about Scout waiting for her at home, about the long road of treatment ahead, about all the plans and dreams that now felt uncertain. But then she remembered what Dr. Wilson had said about dogs living in the moment, not worrying about tomorrow. Maybe that was the secret, taking one day at a time, finding joy where you could, loving fiercely in the present. "I'm coming home, Scout," she whispered into the darkness. "And we're going to fight this together." The reunion between Lily and Scout was something her parents would remember for the rest of their lives. When they pulled into the driveway, Tina was waiting on the front porch with Scout on a leash. The moment the car doors opened, Scout began whining and pulling, desperate to reach Lily. "Easy, boy," Mr. Chen cautioned as he helped Lily out of the car. "She's still recovering." But Scout seemed to understand. When they finally let him approach Lily, who was now sitting in the wheelchair the hospital had insisted she use for the first few days at home, he didn't jump or bounce as he normally would have. Instead, he moved forward slowly, his tail wagging so hard his whole body swayed. He gently placed his head in her lap. looking up at her with eyes full of such unmistakable love that Mrs. Chen had to turn away to hide her tears. "Hi, buddy," Lily whispered, her voice still weak from the surgery. She ran her fingers through his soft fur and something tight inside her chest seemed to loosen. "I missed you so much." The first weeks at home were difficult. Lily tired easily and suffered from headaches and nausea, side effects of both the surgery and the medication she was taking. She spent most of her time on the living room couch, where her parents had set up a makeshift bedroom so she wouldn't have to climb the stairs. Scout rarely left her side, seeming to sense when she needed quiet and when she needed comfort. "It's like he knows exactly what I'm feeling," Lily told her mother one afternoon as Scout pressed himself against her legs during a particularly bad headache. Mrs. Chen smiled, adjusting the cool cloth on Lily's forehead. "Animals are more intuitive than we give them credit for, especially when it comes to the people they love." 2 weeks after coming home, Lily began radiation treatments at the hospital, 5 days a week. Her father would drive her to the hospital where she would lie perfectly still, while machines delivered precisely targeted radiation to the remaining tumor cells in her brain. The treatments themselves were painless, but the cumulative effects were exhausting. "I don't know if I can do this," Lily confessed to her father one day as they drove home, her head pounding and her stomach churning with nausea. Mr. Chen reached over and squeezed her hand. "You're the strongest person I know, Lily, but it's okay to have bad days. Nobody expects you to be brave all the time." When they got home, Scout was waiting by the door as usual. He followed Lily to the couch where she curled up under a blanket, shivering despite the warm spring day. Without being asked, Scout jumped up beside her, something he was usually not allowed to do, and pressed his warm body against hers. Within minutes, Lily was asleep, one arm draped over her faithful companion. Lily's friends from school visited when she felt up to it, bringing homework assignments and news from the classroom. Tina came most often, sometimes just sitting quietly with Lily while they watched movies or listened to music. "Does it hurt?" Tina asked one day, gesturing vaguely toward Lily's head, where her hair was beginning to fall out in patches from the radiation. Lily considered the question. "Not exactly. It's more like feeling sick all the time, and really, really tired." She stroked Scout, who was lying between them on the couch. "I keep thinking about how Scout went through chemo and never complained. If he could do it, I can too." Tina looked at Scout with newfound respect. "He's pretty amazing, isn't he?" "The best," Lily agreed, scratching behind Scout's ears just the way he liked. As spring turned to summer, Lily completed her radiation treatments and began chemotherapy. This brought a whole new set of challenges, days when she couldn't keep any food down, when even the smell of cooking made her ill, when her remaining hair finally fell out completely. Through it all, Scout remained her constant companion. On her worst days, he would lie beside her bed, occasionally raising his head to check on her, but otherwise simply providing a reassuring presence. On her better days, he would accompany her on short walks around the yard, matching his pace to her slower steps, always staying close enough that she could reach out and touch him if she needed support. Dr. Wilson visited regularly, officially to check on Scout but really to see Lily as well. "You two are quite the pair," he remarked during one visit, watching as Scout gently took a treat from Lily's palm. "Both cancer fighters," Lily managed to smile. "He's my role model." The summer passed in a blur of hospital visits, medication schedules, and small victories. A day without nausea, walking to the mailbox and back without getting winded, eating a full meal for the first time in weeks. Lily's parents kept careful track of these milestones, celebrating each one as a step toward recovery. In August, just before what would have been the start of Lily's sophomore year of high school, she had another MRI to check her progress. The whole family, including Scout, waited anxiously for the results. "The tumor has shrunk significantly," her doctor reported, showing them the scan images, "and there's no sign of the cancer spreading. The treatment is working exactly as we hoped." That night, they celebrated with a small dinner party. Lily was still too weak to handle a big gathering, but Tina and Dr. Wilson joined the Chen family for a meal that Mrs. Chen had prepared, with special attention to foods that wouldn't upset Lily's sensitive stomach. Scout wore a festive bandana around his neck and received his own plate of special treats. "I've been thinking," Lily said as they sat around the table, "about going back to school." Her parents exchanged concerned glances. "Are you sure you're ready?" her mother asked. Your immune system is still compromised and you tire so easily. I know, but I could start with just a few classes. Maybe mornings only. Lily looked down at Scout, who was sitting attentively by her chair. And I thought maybe Scout could come with me. To school? Her father asked, surprised. Lily nodded. I've been reading about service dogs for people with medical conditions. Scout already knows when I'm not feeling well, sometimes before I do, and having him there would make me feel safer. Dr. Wilson nodded thoughtfully. It's not unprecedented. Scout would need some specialized training, and there would be paperwork and approvals needed from the school, but it's definitely possible. We can look into it, Mrs. Chen agreed cautiously. But your health comes first, Lily. If going back to school is too much, even part-time. I know, Lily said, but I want to try. I'm tired of cancer taking things away from me. The next few weeks were busy with preparations. Dr. Wilson helped connect the family with a service dog trainer who worked with Scout several times a week, teaching him specific commands and behaviors that would make him effective as a medical alert dog. Lily's parents met with school administrators to arrange a modified schedule and discuss accommodations for both Lily and Scout. By mid-September, Lily was ready to attempt her first day back at school. She would attend just 3 classes all before lunch, and her mother would pick her up afterward. Scout, now sporting an official service dog vest, would accompany her throughout the day. The night before her return, Lily couldn't sleep. She sat up in bed, her hand resting on Scout, who had sensed her restlessness and jumped up to join her. What if I can't do it? She whispered to him. What if I get too tired or sick or everyone stares at me because I look different now? Scout nudged her hand with his nose, then settled his head in her lap, his warm weight reassuring against her legs. You're right, Lily said, managing a small smile. We'll face it together just like everything else. When morning came, Lily dressed carefully in clothes she had picked out the night before, comfortable but normal looking, not like the sweatpants and t-shirts she had lived in for months. Her mother helped her tie a colorful scarf around her head to cover the patchy regrowth of her hair. You look beautiful, Mrs. Chen said, blinking back tears. Lily didn't feel beautiful, with her too thin face and the dark circles under her eyes, but when she looked at her reflection, she saw something else. Strength, determination. The face of someone who was fighting for her life and refusing to give up. Ready, Scout? She asked, clipping his leash to his service vest. Scout stood at attention, watching her face with complete focus, ready to follow wherever she led. The drive to school felt both familiar and strange. As they pulled into the parking lot, Lily saw a small group waiting by the front entrance. Tina, a few other friends from the science club, and Ms. Rivera, her science teacher. Did you know about this? Lily asked her mother, who was smiling as she parked the car. They wanted to welcome you back, Mrs. Chen said. But if it's too much, we can go in another way. Lily took a deep breath, feeling Scout press reassuringly against her leg. No, I want to see them. With Scout walking perfectly at her side, matching his pace to her slow steps, Lily approached her friends. Their faces showed no pity, only genuine happiness to see her. Tina stepped forward first, giving her a gentle hug. Welcome back, she said. We missed you. Ms. Rivera smiled warmly. Both of you, she added, nodding at Scout. I think he's going to be the most popular student in school. As they walked into the building together, Lily felt a strange mixture of emotions, nervousness, yes, but also pride, determination, and a surprising sense of joy. This day marked not just her return to school, but another step in her journey back to life. Scout stayed close, his body language alert but calm. When they reached Lily's first classroom, he settled quietly beside her desk as if he had been doing it his whole life. Good boy, Lily whispered, running her hand along his back. And as the teacher began the lesson, Lily opened her notebook and picked up her pen, ready to begin this new chapter with her faithful friend by her side. The next 2 years passed with a rhythm of good days and bad, of progress and setbacks, of hope and fear. Lily continued her treatments, gradually increasing her time at school until she was attending full days by the start of her junior year. Scout was always by her side, his service dog vest becoming as familiar, a sight in the hallways of Pine Creek High School as the championship trophies in the display case or the faded murals on the cafeteria walls. I don't think I've ever Seen a bond like the one between those two? Ms. Rivera remarked to the school principal as they watched Lily and Scout navigate the crowded hallway between classes. It's like they can read each other's minds. It did seem that way to anyone who spent time around them. Scout could sense when Lily was about to have a headache or feel dizzy, often alerting her before she noticed the symptoms herself. He would paw gently at her leg or nudge her hand, giving her time to sit down or take medication before things got worse. In return, Lily understood Scout's subtle communications, the different meanings in his various types of wines, the way he would position himself between her and the door when he needed to go outside, the special tilt of his head that meant he was thirsty. Dr. Wilson continued to care for Scout, marveling at how well the now 7-year-old dog was doing years after his cancer surgery. No signs of recurrence, he reported during Scout's regular checkups. He's defied all the statistics. Lily's own medical news was similarly positive. After her first year of treatment, the tumor had shrunk to the point where it was barely detectable on scans. By the middle of her junior year, her doctors used the word remission for the first time, though they cautioned that she would need regular monitoring for years to come. We're cautiously optimistic, her oncologist told the Chen family during a follow-up appointment. Lily has responded exceptionally well to treatment. Her youth and overall health have been significant advantages. And Scout, Lily added firmly, he helped me get better too. The doctor smiled, having long since grown accustomed to Scout's presence during Lily's appointments. Yes, I have no doubt that Scout has been an important part of your recovery. As Lily's health improved, so did her focus on the future. Her experience with cancer had only strengthened her desire to become a veterinarian, and she threw herself into her studies with renewed determination. Her junior year science project on animal-assisted therapy won first place at the state competition, and colleges were already sending recruitment materials, attracted by her excellent grades and unique personal story. Life wasn't perfect, of course. Lily still had days when fatigue overwhelmed her, when the lingering effects of treatment made it hard to concentrate or remember things. She still wore scarves or soft hats to cover her hair, which had grown back thinner and slightly different in texture than before. And there was always the underlying fear, rarely spoken but ever present, that the cancer might return. But there were also countless moments of joy. Scout playfully rolling in autumn leaves during their weekend walks, successful exam results pinned proudly to the refrigerator door, laughter-filled game nights with Tina and other friends. The first time Lily felt well enough to ride her bike again, with Scout running happily alongside. I never thought I could feel normal again, Lily confessed to her mother one evening as they prepared dinner together, Scout watching hopefully for any dropped food. But I do most of the time. Mrs. Chen paused in her vegetable chopping to pull Lily into a hug. You're the strongest person I know. Your father and I are so proud of you. Senior year arrived with a flurry of college applications, campus visits, and decisions about the future. Lily applied to several veterinary programs, including one at the state university that had a special interest in her animal-assisted therapy research. Scout accompanied her on campus tours, charming admissions officers and fellow prospective students alike. You know, Lily's father said as they drove home from one such visit, most colleges have rules about pets in dormitories. Lily glanced at Scout, who was dozing in the back seat after the long day. He's not a pet, Dad, he's a service dog. They have to allow him under the Americans with Disabilities Act. Mr. Chen nodded. I know, I just wanted to make sure you'd thought about it. I've thought about everything, Lily assured him. I can't go anywhere without Scout. Not yet, anyway. Winter turned to spring, and with it came college acceptance letters, end-of-year exams, and preparations for graduation. Lily, now almost 18, had grown into a poised young woman whose quiet strength and compassion had earned her the respect of classmates and teachers alike. Her hair had finally grown long enough to style in a short bob, and while she would always be thinner than before her illness, her face had lost the gaunt look of her treatment days. Scout, too, showed signs of age. At 9 years old, his muzzle was frosted with gray, and he moved a bit more slowly in the mornings before his joints warmed up. But his eyes remained bright and alert, his devotion to Lily unwavering. 1 week before graduation, Lily had her final high school checkup with her oncologist. These appointments still brought anxiety, no matter how many clear scans she had received in the past. I'm nervous, she admitted to Scout as they sat in the waiting room. Scout pressed his head against her knee in response, his familiar weight calming her racing heart. The appointment went well. Another clean scan, another step further from the shadow of cancer. As they left the hospital, Lily felt a lightness that had been missing for days. "Let's take the long way home," she suggested to her mother, "through the park. It's such a beautiful day." The park was in full bloom, trees leafed out in vibrant green, flower beds bursting with color. Lily and Scout walked ahead while Mrs. Chen found a bench to enjoy the sunshine. They followed their favorite path around the small lake, stopping occasionally for Scout to investigate an interesting scent, or for Lily to admire a particularly beautiful view. They were nearly back to where Mrs. Chen was waiting when Scout suddenly stopped, his body tense. "What is it, boy?" Lily asked, instantly alert. Years of partnership had taught her to trust Scout's instincts. Scout wasn't looking at her, though. His attention was fixed on something near the water's edge, a small shape huddled in the reeds. Without waiting for command, Scout led Lily toward it, moving carefully so as not to startle whatever it was. As they drew closer, Lily saw it was a puppy, small, skinny, and bedraggled, with patches of fur missing and what looked like an injured paw. The puppy cowered as they approached, whimpering softly. "It's okay," Lily said softly, kneeling down despite Scout's protective stance beside her. "We won't hurt you." The puppy was terrified but too weak to run. Lily carefully slipped off her light jacket and wrapped it gently around the trembling animal. "Mom," she called, and Mrs. Chen hurried over. "Look what we found. I think someone abandoned it." Mrs. Chen knelt beside her daughter, her nurse's eyes quickly assessing the puppy's condition. "The poor thing is half-starved, and that paw needs medical attention." "We need to take it to Dr. Wilson," Lily said, already cradling the bundle against her chest. Scout sniffed the puppy curiously but maintained his alert posture, as if understanding that he was now responsible for 2 charges instead of 1. Dr. Wilson was just finishing with a patient when they arrived at the clinic. He took one look at the puppy and immediately ushered them into an examination room. "She's about 3 months old, some kind of terrier mix," he reported after a thorough examination. "Malnourished, dehydrated, and that paw has an infection. But with proper care, she should make a full recovery. Can we keep her?" Lily asked, looking from the puppy to her mother. "Please?" Mrs. Chen sighed, but she was smiling. "I had a feeling you were going to ask that. Let's talk to your father, but I think we can make it work." 2 days later, the puppy, now named Hope, was installed in the Chen household, her paw bandaged, her tiny body already looking better after regular meals and medication. Scout had appointed himself her guardian, keeping a watchful eye on her at all times, showing remarkable patience as she chewed on his ears and pounced on his tail. "He's going to train her," Lily told Tina, who had come over to meet the new addition, "just like Dr. Wilson trained him, and just like he helped train me when I was learning to be a handler. She's going to be the next generation of therapy dog." "How do you know?" Tina asked, watching as Scout gently nudged Hope away from chewing on a chair leg, directing her toward an appropriate toy instead. Lily smiled, the kind of smile that reached all the way to her eyes, something that had been rare during her illness but was becoming more common with each passing day. "Because that's what we do. We take the love and help we've received and we pass it on. That's how healing really works." The morning of graduation dawned clear and warm. Lily dressed in her cap and gown, Scout sitting patiently beside her, wearing a special bandana made from the same blue fabric as her gown.